When I refused to sell my family's land to a developer neighbor, he secretly paid my own sister to file a lawsuit against me, claiming I stole it from the family. They thought I would break, but I had every scrap of paper, every will, every deed backed up for decades. When I brought the proof to court, the case exploded and my sister ended up losing not just her credibility, but her house and her inheritance too. Meanwhile, I kept every inch of land they tried to steal. I'm Mark 58, male. I live in Wilmington, Ohio. Not much out here but farms, woods, and people who mind their own business. My family has owned 47 acres just outside of town since 1951. My grandfather and his brothers built the farmhouse after they got back from World War II. Dad was born here. So was I. My sister, Denise, 62, female, moved away decades ago. She always said the country was too boring. She came back for holidays, but that was it. After Mom and Dad passed, I stayed. Took care of the house, the woods, the fields. Paid the taxes. Repaired the barn roof twice. Fixed the well. Cut back the brush every summer so the ticks didn't take over. I kept it all going because it mattered. Not for money. Because it was our family's land. About 10 years ago, a guy named Ron Hardesty bought the land next to mine. Used to be an old dairy barn there. He knocked it down and built vacation homes. Big ugly things. White vinyl siding. Stone facades that already looked cheap. Every summer, Ron would come over when I was mowing or splitting wood. "You ever think about selling?" he'd ask. Every time I said no, he'd laugh. "Think about your retirement. This land's worth more than you think." Didn't matter. I wasn't selling. By 2022, Ron stopped playing nice. His offers got lower, not higher. I guess he thought if he lowballed me enough, I'd crack. "That old house won't last forever, Mark. You really want to be out here by yourself fixing roofs at 60? I'm not selling," I told him. Again. He started sending realtors to chat with me. Then zoning officials came by, checking my septic system and asking about easements. I reported it to the county. Nothing happened. Then, suddenly, it all stopped. No more offers. No more visitors. Nothing. I thought he'd moved on. I was wrong. June 2023. A sheriff's deputy came up my drive and handed me a thick envelope. My sister, Denise, was suing me. The lawsuit claimed I had fraudulently taken sole ownership of the family property after Mom and Dad died. She wanted the court to cancel all deeds and split the land 50-50. I thought it had to be a mistake. Denise never cared about the land. I called her. She didn't answer. A few hours later, I got a text. "This isn't personal. You always took everything. It's time to make it right." My stomach dropped. This wasn't just Denise getting greedy. Somebody, Ron, was behind this. A buddy of mine, Jim, works in real estate. I asked him if he'd heard anything. Jim said Denise had been seen at a meeting with Ron at a diner outside of town. It all made sense. Ron figured if I wouldn't sell, he'd use family against me. Denise could sue, win half the property, and sell her share to Ron. I'd lose control. Ron would get the land anyway. They thought they could scare me. Wear me down. They didn't know who they were messing with. I started pulling every paper I had. Mom and Dad's will, 2003, left the entire property to me because Denise had no interest and moved away. Signed deed transfer from 2004, notarized, filed with the county. Property tax records, all paid by me since 2004. Bank statements, proving I paid maintenance and repairs. Affidavits from neighbors, some of whom remembered the will being read. A letter from Mom, written in 2003, explaining why I was getting the land. I made copies. Stored some in a safe deposit box. Then I hired Laura McPherson, a lawyer from Cincinnati who didn't back down from a fight. "They want a fight?" she said. "We'll give them one." First hearing was in October. Denise showed up with a fancy lawyer from Columbus. Guess who was sitting behind her in the gallery? Ron Hardesty. Her lawyer started spinning a sob story. Mark pressured his parents to give him everything. Denise was cut out unfairly. All she wants is her rightful share. Then Laura stood up. Calm. Collected. She laid out the will. The notarized deed. Tax records. Maintenance logs. Even Mom's letter. Your Honor, she said, my client didn't steal anything. His parents made a clear, legal decision. And he has carried every burden of this property for 20 years. The judge, old guy named Holloway, listened. Didn't say much. But when Laura mentioned Denise meeting with Ron Hardesty, he finally spoke up. Ms. Carter, is it true you've been discussing the sale of this land with Mr. Hardesty? Denise froze. Her lawyer tried to object. Judge Holloway shut him down. Answered the question. Yes, Denise said, barely whispering. That's when everything shifted. Laura filed a countersuit for fraud and abuse of process. She argued Denise's lawsuit wasn't about family rights. It was a scheme to force a sale so a developer could profit. Judge Holloway ordered discovery into Ron's finances and his past deals. Turned out, this wasn't his first rodeo. He'd been involved in 2 similar cases in nearby counties. Elderly landowners suddenly faced family lawsuits, out of nowhere. Ron bought them out afterward. Judge Holloway's face darkened. This court does not tolerate manipulation of family and property law for personal gain. By February, Denise's case collapsed. Judge dismissed it with prejudice, permanently. Then he hit Denise with a bombshell. She had to pay my legal fees and damages. She couldn't afford it. She had to sell her house. Ron tried to back out. Said he'd had no involvement. Too late. The judge referred him to the Ohio Attorney General. Last I heard, Ron was under investigation for racketeering and fraud. Denise lost more than the case. The family disowned her. Even her own kids cut contact. And me? I kept every inch of the land. Better yet, thanks to the court ruling, my ownership is now bulletproof. No one will ever try this again. They thought they could scare me into selling. They thought family greed would break me. They thought wrong. For a few weeks after the court ruling, things were quiet. Too quiet. Neighbors congratulated me. Strangers stopped me at the feed store saying, "Good for you, Mark. Don't let 'em push you off your own land." But in the back of my mind, I knew it wasn't over. Not really. People like Ron don't stop because of one bad ruling. And I was right. It started small. One morning I woke up and the mailbox was smashed in. Thought maybe some kids were out drinking and causing trouble. I replaced it. A week later, I found deep tire tracks cutting through my hayfield. Somebody had done donuts out there, tearing up a good 2 acres. Then the north fence was cut. Not just damaged, cut clean like someone used bolt cutters. My gut told me this wasn't random. I called the Clinton County Sheriff. Deputy came out, took some photos. Probably just some teenagers, Mr. Myers. I didn't argue. But I knew better. I fixed the fence. Repaired the field as best I could. 2 nights later, my tractor was vandalized. Sugar poured into the fuel tank. That's not a teenager's prank. That's someone trying to cost me money. I reported it again. Same response. No suspects. Sorry. I wasn't about to sit around and hope the law would step in. I bought trail cameras. 4 of them. Good ones. Night vision motion activated. I put them along the drive, by the barn, and near the property line where Ron's land met mine. I didn't tell a soul. And 2 weeks later, I got what I needed. On a cold March night, my phone pinged around 2 a.m. motion alert. I opened the app. There he was. Ron Hardesty. On foot. Holding bolt cutters. He was right by the south fence, trying to break through. Not a hired goon. Not some punk kid. Ron himself. I called the sheriff right then and there. This time, with proof. Deputies showed up fast. I showed them the footage. They followed Ron's footprints back to his property. He was arrested before sunrise. You'd think that would be the end of it. But 3 days after Ron got hauled off, Denise showed up at my door. First time she'd come to the property in years. "Mark, please. We need to talk." I stood on the porch. Arms crossed. "You got 5 minutes." Her face was drawn. Pale. She looked older than 62. "Ron's in serious trouble. If he gets charged, he says he'll drag me down with him." "You already dragged yourself down," I said. "Don't put that on me." She started crying. "They're looking into the money. He paid me under the table. If they prove I lied in court, I could go to jail." "I didn't say anything." "Can't you just say I didn't know what was happening?" she begged. "No," I said flatly. "I'm not lying for you. Not now. Not ever." She left in tears. I shut the door and locked it behind her. A month later, Ron was formally charged. Trespassing, property damage, attempted sabotage, conspiracy to commit fraud, stemming from the original lawsuit with Denise. The Attorney General's office piled on charges related to his earlier land grabs in other counties. Ron's fancy lawyer tried to get him a deal. It didn't work. By summer, he was facing serious prison time. And Denise? She was now under state investigation for perjury and fraudulent court filings. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Laura, my lawyer, called me. "Mark, we've got a problem." "What now?" "Ron filed a quiet claim deed on 10 acres of your woods 6 months ago." My heart stopped. "What? That's not possible. The court ruled everything belongs to me." "Doesn't matter," she said. "He forged your signature and filed it before the trial ended. It's illegal, but the paperwork is in the recorder's office. Until we clear it, technically it shows him as the owner of that section. He hadn't just tried to steal my land through Denise. He tried to fake claim part of it outright. That's when I realized this wasn't just greed anymore. This was war." Laura moved fast. She filed an emergency motion to void the forged deed. At the same time, she pulled the full audit trail from the recorder's office. It was bad. Ron had bribed a clerk named Gary Whitmore to push through the fake claim without proper verification. Laura's team found email records and phone logs. Ron paid Gary under the table, about $8,000. Enough for Gary to risk his job and freedom. "This is serious," Laura told me. "We're not just looking at fraud anymore. This is organized theft." In August, a grand jury indicted Ron on 6 felony counts, including fraud, forgery, bribery, racketeering, conspiracy. Gary Whitmore was also arrested. He flipped fast, giving full statements against Ron in exchange for a lighter sentence. Ron's quiet claim deed was voided. The 10 acres officially returned to my name. But the damage wasn't just legal. Denise's fraud investigation wrapped up around the same time. The prosecutor offered her a deal: plead guilty to perjury and filing false claims, avoid jail but surrender any future inheritance rights and pay a $75,000 fine. She took the deal. She had no choice. To pay the fine, she sold her retirement accounts and the last of her personal belongings. Her adult kids, who'd already disowned her, refused to help. In 1 year, she went from living comfortably in Columbus to renting a room over a garage on the bad side of town. A part of me felt bitter. Another part felt hollow. This was my sister. My blood. But blood means nothing when trust is gone. I gave Denise every chance to back off. She chose money. She chose greed. She chose betrayal. She thought I'd roll over. She thought family guilt would work. She thought wrong. By October, Ron was convicted on all counts. The judge, same Judge Holloway, didn't hold back. "Mr. Hardesty, you didn't just break the law. You tried to destroy families and steal homes for profit. You showed no remorse. I sentence you to 18 years in state prison." Ron was cuffed and taken out of the courtroom. I didn't celebrate. I just felt relieved. Like a weight was finally off my shoulders. Today, I still own every inch of those 47 acres. And thanks to the court rulings, no future claim or lawsuit can touch it. I added stronger fencing. Security lights. I even bought 2 extra trail cameras. Nobody tries anything now. Most of the family stands with me. Some don't say much. That's fine. I know where everyone stands now. Denise's name never comes up at reunions. She's a ghost. People think they can wear you down. They think family ties will make you weak. But when you have the truth, the will to fight, and a damn good lawyer, they can't take what's yours. Not then. Not now. Not ever.